I founded Greenwich Education Group in 2003 to serve the various learning needs of students in our community. Our thriving business includes 4 schools for regular and special needs students, academic tutoring and test preparation, college and educational consulting, and skills support for differentiated learners, as well as a host of other related services. We know that one size does not fit all when it comes to education, and GEG's mission is to always provide customized learning solutions that are the right fit for each student. It is therefore a great privilege and pleasure to welcome you tonight to Greenwich Education Group's screening of The Pursuit of Endurance. Produced by Greenwich resident Luc Hardy. Luc is a veteran French-American entrepreneur, a passionate explorer, an environmental advocate, and a truly extraordinary individual. We hope you enjoy this evening of education and entertainment, and at the end of our film viewing and Q&A, Luc will be available to autograph your purchase of his book, The Pursuit of Endurance. A lushly illustrated and beautifully written book, written in both French and English. Luc has generously offered to donate half of the proceeds from each book sold tonight to support the foundation that supports scholarships for Beacon, Pinnacle, and Spire schools. Following the presentation, please help yourself to refreshments in the lobby. You will also find literature and information about a number of our services. Finally, I would like to thank Robin Whittingham, who made this evening possible. Robin wears many hats in our organization, and among other things, she is the Director of Human Resources at Greenwich Education Group and Chief of Staff. Robin?
Hi everybody, again, as Vicky said, welcome. She didn't mention that the book is $30, and I wanted to point that out because it's a bargain at any price. For those of you who were looking for it already, I think you saw how beautiful it was. And I will put in a plug, it does make a great Christmas gift, and Luc will autograph it to anyone special in your life that you'd like to share it with. So it is my pleasure also to welcome you to this evening and to our screening of The Pursuit of Endurance, which was produced by Luc Hardy, who, as Vicky mentioned, is a Greenwich resident. Luc is a veteran French-American entrepreneur, a passionate explorer, and an environmental advocate, a truly extraordinary individual. As I read about him, let me tell you my journey. I was privileged to attend a screening of Luc's movie, The Pursuit of Endurance, at the United Nations in New York last year. It was the eve of the opening of the General Assembly, September of 2015. The screening was both a tremendous success and a very powerful moving experience, and we were thrilled when Luc accepted our invitation to present this film to the Greenwich Education Group students and our larger community. One of his passions is educating the younger generation, and we took advantage of this, especially since Luc is a local resident. A little bit about Luc. He was born in Lyon, France, and he had quite a cosmopolitan childhood, thanks to his father, who was in the military. So Luc ended up traveling quite a bit and moving around, which I think probably fed his passion for travel and his curiosity about other countries, and first and foremost about people. When not traveling, Luc has had a remarkable career path. He first worked at Colgate-Palmolive in 1979, and he was recruited 2 years later to work for Mars & Company, which is an international consulting firm. And he worked on projects in the Americas, European, and Asian markets. While working for Mars & Company, Luc discovered that he had a taste for entrepreneurship. And in 1987, he founded a venture capital company, SACX, which is also his email address, and we'll share that with you at the end of the video. The company is based in New York with branches in Paris and Silicon Valley. The company has a great success story. It specializes in financial startups and innovative projects, particularly in the internet and high-tech world. One of Luc's passions for the past 30 years has been in advising innovative startups with an emphasis on French technology startups that are willing and able to expand into the US marketplace. Over the years, more than 100 entrepreneurs have benefited from his advice and have literally created thousands of jobs and billions of dollars of value. But this spectacular success was not enough for Luc. He clearly felt he had more to give. At heart, he is an eco-adventurer, an explorer, and an environmental advocate, as this movie will attest to. When he is not relaxing at his home in Greenwich, he is traveling around the globe, photographing and recording from remote places in order to raise awareness for global causes. Over the years, Luc has led several expeditions in polar and glacial regions, obviously, if you like the cold weather, combining his travels with meaningful research. To mention just a few of his explorations, in 2003, he went to Antarctica to highlight the region's importance as a regulator of the global weather systems. In 2007, he led a team of scientists to Greenland to explore the effects of climate change on local wildlife. Other expeditions include a trip to the Himalayas in 2009 and an expedition to the North Pole in 2011. And also, just to mention, Luc flew in last night, I believe, and Luc flies out on Friday to Morocco, not for pleasure evidently, although there may be a bit of pleasure, but on very important business. So we're very lucky to have him here tonight. In the fall of 2014, Luc led a 9-person expedition into the Antarctic Ocean, in the footsteps of one of the greatest legends of the golden age of polar exploration, Sir Ernest Shackleton. In 1914, after the sinking of Shackleton's ship, which was the Endurance, Shackleton saved his entire crew from certain death. 100 years later, Luc's expedition brought to the heart of Antarctica 9 adventurers from very diverse backgrounds, but with a common passion for testing the limits. Based on this extraordinary expedition, Luc co-authored and produced the film that we're about to see tonight, The Pursuit of Endurance, which has been screened at several prestigious film festivals in France and in the US, and as I said, it was also screened at the UN, which was an extraordinary venue to experience this magnificent film. Most of the expeditions Luc has led have included children who serve as youth ambassadors and witnesses to the dramatic climate changes occurring in these regions. Indeed, Luc's efforts are focused on bearing witness to the devastating impacts of global warming, amassing scientific proof through on-the-ground observation, and thereby convincing policymakers to take the drastic measures that have become absolutely imperative to saving our world from the effects of global warming. In this spirit, his travels have been the subject of a number of fascinating books, including Antarctica Adventure, which was published in 2004, Greenland Impressions in 2007, and Arctic Transitions in 2008. And many of you did have a chance to see the beautiful book outside, which was his latest venture. He is also an expert photographer whose works have been published in many prestigious publications and exhibitions, and a selection of his artwork can be seen in galleries throughout France and in New York. To promote awareness of the threats facing the Arctic and polar regions, in 2003, Luc founded the organization Pax Arctica Initiative, based in New York, and whose mission is to alert the public to the profound climatic transformations that are affecting the most sensitive regions of the globe. So this is not a man who sits still, and this is not a man who's quiet. He makes his voice heard through venues like this and also through our legislative system. Luc is a member of the New York Explorers Club and the American Polar Society, and is also the Secretary General of Green Cross International in France, which is the environmental NGO headed by Jean-Michel Cousteau, quite prestigious. And Luc was recently bestowed with France's National Order of Merit, a very prestigious honor. It's one of France's highest distinctions, and it recognizes and rewards individuals for their contributions to France. And he was recognized for his significant accomplishments and his passionate commitment to the French-American friendship. So please welcome Luc Hardy.
Thank you, Robin. Everything you heard about me is a gross exaggeration, and everything you heard about Shackleton is an understatement, I guess. Just a few words about the film. It's kind of a report on the expedition I organized and led exactly 2 years ago, October, November 2014, retracing very, very partly, of course, because it's impossible to retrace in its entirety, but retracing Shackleton's expedition with our taste of adventure and a mix of characters that I will let you to discover. The documentary is short, 52 minutes, and I'll be here after to answer questions. Hope you can stay, and I'm sure you'll have lots of questions. All right. See you later. Thank
We're also very happy to accept any donations that you'd like to offer that will go to the Greenwich Education Group Schools Foundation. The foundation helps to fund students who would like to attend one of our 3 private schools but don't have the funds to attend. It does help to support them, their entry into our school. We will take donations in the lobby if you want to give a few dollars. We also have a website and you can contribute through the website, which is the gegfoundation.org. We do also have a couple of iPads out there and you can donate in the lobby through our iPads, and we do accept PayPal now, so that's our newest venture. So thank you for joining us, and please do feel free to ask questions. I have a microphone here so we can hear your questions, and Vicki, I'll let you take it away.
Does anyone have a question? Anyone have a question that they want to ask? Dr. Dror.
I was very curious about the video crew. What does that crew look like, and how did they capture some of the, especially the snowboarding scenes?
you. Thanks for asking the question. Actually, the most important person in this film is the director and cameraman Bertrand Delacare, who you do not see in the film. He's just an extraordinary guy. Lives in Chamonix and is used to film in really very difficult circumstances. He's a climber himself and a snowboarder. So I would say 90-95% of the images you see in the film are filmed by him and a very small camera. And when you see Geraldine, snowboarding down, actually Bertrand will have, hire with his equipment to actually film her all of turns. It was actually just one guy, 2 cameras, one for filming, outdoors in kind of a very difficult weather, and a bigger camera for the interviews on board the ship. And then a few of us were photographers, like myself, and Nikon cameras, which can do also videos. So occasionally we will take some videos. For example, when you see the elephant seals fighting on St. Andrews Beach, I took that video, and some others to take some other additional shots here and there.
Snowboarding was extraordinary. How the cameraman captured that. That's something.
And actually some of the aerial footage I did that with a drone, which I brought to the islands there. So the footage about the elephant seals and the penguin at St. Andrews is filmed by drone, which is, by the way, forbidden now on these islands. Because even for scientists, the British government, which is doing these islands, certainly doesn't want cruise ship, tourists to go on the island and stop with their drones to scare these animals. And even for scientists, they don't want scientists to do even counting of penguins and seals in altitude. Yes.
How do you find drones that can resist those?
Sorry, can you speak louder?
Yes. How do you find the kinds of drones that can resist those weathers? Are they specially made, or did you have?
No, actually, well, it's interesting. I brought 2 drones. One big one, octocopter, kind of a $10,000 big drone to carry a big camera. And I brought I'm sure you're familiar with DJI Phantom 3, 4 drones that everybody has now. So I had these 2. I did not use a big one at all. I just used it in Ushuaia for a test flight. And the weather was so not drone friendly all the time that I could not use it. It would have been a big risk of losing the drone and the camera equipment below it. But in several occasions, we could use a little one and just have the GoPro under it. If you lose it, it's only $1,500 loss as opposed to $15,000 loss. So everything you see, which is filmed by a drone, is actually a GoPro camera. Just a regular drone, regular GoPro camera. Yes, over there.
I couldn't quite hear his question, so maybe I'm repeating what he asked. I got the impression 2 or 3 times during the film that some long shots looked like they had been achieved with a helicopter. But was that possible?
Well, yes, actually, the aerial shots were made either by drones, and these are the shots over St. Andrews Bay, the penguins and elephant seals and Geraldine snowboarding. The shots of the boat actually were made after the expedition in the Falkland Islands. Thanks to our British friends, we were invited, Bertrand and myself, to fly in a British Navy helicopter. And so we spent an hour doing, touring the island and flying over the boat float to do some beauty shots that we eventually inserted into the film. Good eye.
Very nicely done.
Yes.
One of the reasons you did this was for. Thanks. One of the reasons you did this was for your environmental cause. What did you find there? What shocked you the most, if anything, from an environmental perspective?
Yeah, the film is really, to create awareness and to share what we've seen there and done. I'd never been to that part of the world. I've been to Antarctica, the continent, but never there. I'd never seen a penguin before, except in a zoo, so it was really a big first for me. So it was exciting to have, kind of child experiences at a later age. When you go to these places, it's impossible for anyone, even a scientist, to say, if it's just one data point, to say, oh my God, the world is changing, or this is happening, or you can only get that kind of conclusion if you have been yourself to that place for many years in a row, or if you know someone who's been there before and tells you, well, years ago it was like this, and it was different. Certainly the island of South Georgia has changed a lot. For example, when we reached Fortuna Bay, which is the end of the crossing of South Georgia, we kind of hug each other, and on that beach, well, that beach, which is pretty green, used to be the front of the glacier, which is on this bay. When Shackleton was there and did the same thing, he walked on snow and ice on that beach. Today, the front of the glacier is about 2 kilometers away from the beach. So again, I'm there, I can't tell, but if I look at history, then you can say, wow, it's been changing a lot. A study was done in 2008 in South Georgia. They studied 36 of the 160 glaciers on the island. Out of the 36, 28 are actually receding. 2 are kind of neutral or too complex to assess, and 6 of them are advancing. So the vast majority of the glaciers on the island are indeed receding, and probably in another 20, 30, 50 years, there won't be any glaciers left on this island, as unfortunately many other places in the world. Yes, sir?
Maybe a little off topic, but how is the krill population doing down there in the Antarctic with the whales, and I hear things are going a little askew.
Yeah, well, krill is, first there are some, and I'm not a scientist, I'm an engineer, but I understand a few things, but won't pretend to give you a status of krill in the world. But my understanding is that, well, there are cycles in krill, and hence there are cycles in population of penguins eat krill, among other animals like seals with krill as well. Krill is growing under the ice, so as ice, to simplify things to the extreme, as ice is melting more and more, it means less krill
Less krill.
growing in these regions. Although krill tends to be overfished if it's not regulated.
Yep, man is harvesting that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great for it's used
Cholesterol
to feed,
and blah, blah,
even
blah.
to feed, chicken and fish farms, and it's used in cosmetics. It's used in a variety of uses.
So do you think it's sustainable?
Well, it's the answer is no, unless decisions are taken. For example, you probably have seen a few days ago there was a really big agreement, which was 6 years in the making, signed by 24 countries, including Russia, which was the last one standing, not willing to sign this agreement, but it was signed to protect the Ross Sea, southern Antarctica, as the size of marine reserve, about 3 times the size of France. Huge area protected. Presumably there won't be any fishing. I'm going to say, not prejudiced in China, but a lot of illegal fishing in this part of the world because it's so hard to survey and regulate. So these trees might help.
So
We'll see.
it might be
Excuse me,
okay.
sir, thank you, but I just want to give somebody else a chance to ask a question, but thank you.
Sure, and we can talk more.
Oh, yeah.
Happy to share news on that. Yes.
So it seemed from the film that the seals and the penguins were inquisitive, they were curious, they were kind of like trusting of your team. Did you find that? And are they so protected that you were not allowed to interact with them, or could you?
Well, they are indeed, they're not scared of people. There is something like the Galapagos effect, in these islands. They are not used to see humans. Penguins themselves have, evolved into not flying because they didn't need to fly to escape predators. Hence they became penguins. The joy of all of us. So they typically you can approach. You should not approach them. Actually, when you leave the boat, you're on. You clean your boots, your equipment. You don't want to come with viruses and bacteria and organisms that will infect them. So you're very careful. It's very tempting, to hug these little penguins when they come to you all fluffy and all that. But typically, you don't want to.
You're not allowed.
You don't want to do that. Yeah. Certainly the huge elephant seals are not scared of you and anybody in that room. But these ones you don't want to approach, especially the big males. Surrounded the beach masters, as we call them, surrounded by about maybe 40 females. That you don't want to mess around with these, half a ton guys. Actually, the 2 guys who are fighting are a big male, or a beach master, and probably a younger male trying to challenge his master in the beach. Yes?
Could you speak a little bit about the boat? About the boat you took down there?
The boat, yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, the boat, and especially the skipper is really the most important element in this expedition, where you spend 6 weeks at sea and almost exclusively at sea. 2 years before leaving for the expedition, I interviewed the process of about a few months, 9 boats, 9 skippers, and ended up picking up Ben because of just his experience. He had been 19 times in this part of the world, although he had never been to the South Sandwich Islands, which tells you how remote these are. But he appeared to be the most experienced and capable of handling 9 explorers, adventurers in addition to the crew of 3. So it's really a combination of the boat, very sturdy, comfortable, boat, and a great skipper and crew.
Thank you.
Sure.
This expedition was 2 years ago. You must be getting a little antsy. Next adventure?
Yeah. Well, I've been to a couple of other places since then, although nothing as exciting for me. I'm preparing half a dozen other expeditions for the next year or two, 17, 18. And the main one hopefully will be in Russia, in northeastern Siberia, for September, October 17. So great, there's a great story from American explorer George Washington belonged in 1879 to this part of the world. His ship, the Jeannette, got stuck and sunk there. He eventually died. He was not as lucky as Shackleton, or not as talented as a manager of people, whatever. And a lot of interesting things there in northern Russia, especially the issue of permafrost, which you're all aware of, is getting more and more, it's melting more and more, and methane is being released from this kind of a terrain, and that's not good. I mean, permafrost is 2/3 of Russia. It's starting to melt, and the power of methane compared to CO2 is 23 times what CO2 is. So you can see what the melting Russia will do to the atmosphere and warming in general. It's not great. Yes.
Are the countries observing the boundaries down there that have been established?
The gentleman is asking about boundaries, if they are respected. You're talking about Antarctic?
The boundaries that were established a number of years ago.
Yeah, well, Antarctic is, there are several views about Antarctica. It's a continent, there's a treaty establishing that it's a reserve for wildlife and science, and that we can only do research and some tourism and nothing else, certainly not drill for mineral or nothing industrial. There are some, you're familiar with kind of a pie where Argentina says, this is my slice, and France, this is mine. And this is not recognized by most countries, it's not recognized by the US, and it's just, ice at minus 70 degrees. We can go and plant your flag and do a research station anywhere you want there. As long as you're not encroaching on an existing base, I don't think it will be a major issue. And actually the Chinese, talking about that, are starting to build bases in Antarctica as of a few years ago. Yes, right?
When you test for the salinity, what are you looking for? What are the variations that tell you, and what do they tell you?
Well, I'm not going to be able to answer that, very specifically in terms of science. I will just say that the flows that were released in the ocean, they measure pressure, salinity, temperature, among other things, and a couple of them were biosensors, so they also measure microorganisms and things like that. So these are part of the Argo network. It's 3,500 flows scattered around the world, which are the data of which is used by scientists. You go on a website and you get data from any of these flows and at any point in time, and you can use that for your research. So what we did was adding 11 floats to 3,500 other floats, except that ours were in a part of the world where rarely people go, so they have more value because of that. Now, I cannot tell you exactly, what salinity measurement of this float that given day, how it's going to be used by some scientists somewhere in the world in the future. That I don't know.
Thank you.
So are
We're
they
gonna
still
take,
transmitting?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, they transmit for about 2+ years after we launched them. So yes, they are. And actually, I can give you a full report on where the flows are and the web links. Happy to do that. Yeah.
thank you. We're gonna take one more question, so I'm gonna let you choose.
How did this group of people become your team, and did you all get along during this expedition?
Yeah, well, we all survived, like Shackleton's team. I knew Ben, the guide, and a little bit Geraldine, snowboarder, and Bertrand, the cameraman. And the others, especially the Brits, never met before. I just met David, at the Explorers Club in New York once. So, but in this world, if my guide, Ben, whom I've been to the North Pole with, and to West Papua, and to the Himalayas, and if he tells me, I think we can bring David and Justin because I've done expeditions with them. It's a very, very powerful link, and that's kind of how the team was put together. Would we do the same, another expedition with exactly the same team? Yes, I could. There are some people you get along with better, and that's totally natural. But no major reality TV thing. Unfortunately, it would have been great. Great addition to the film. So.
Well, we just want to thank Luc